The death of Jesus. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. For the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he had said this, he breathed his last. The centurion, seeing what had happened, praised God and said, "Surely this was a righteous man." When all the people who had gathered to witness his sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. But all those who knew him, including the woman who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things.
Morning. When Fraser asked if I could speak today, Good Friday is one of those sorts of, what do you say? You know, how depressed can we make ourselves? And to be honest, at the time that I was asked, I was feeling quite depressed myself by the events of the world. And the sermon came to my mind then, and I was playing around thinking, is it right, is it right? And the events, I think, of the last couple of weeks just reinforced to me, yes it is. Yes it is. So I want you today to imagine, if you can, a world when everyone knows the meaning of Good Friday. But also a world when everyone knows the power of the Resurrection Sunday. For many, like Fraser spoke of last Saturday, and he spoke to last Sunday, but he spoke to the brothels on West Street and others. They're living lives in such darkness, the darkness of Good Friday, where the world has turned dark, but without seeing the significance of hope that come in a torn curtain. And that's just not just for non-Christians. I recall so vividly my first ever overseas mission work. It was to Ukraine, and we're visiting the underground caves where people had previously had to worship in secret. Here the torn curtain was spoken of. But as a brand new Christian, the significance had never been explained to me. Direct access to God. Direct access to grace. Not through another person, not through doing anything, but purely through the death of Jesus. I was a new Christian, but the leader of that group simply looked down upon me from that day forward. How could a self-proclaimed Christian not know that? And I'm sure I can't be the only. So today of course, is a day of reflection. Reflection of the agony that Jesus bore for us, the death he suffered for us. But I want to remind us, today is Friday, and in 48 hours' time, less than that, comes the resurrection that he gifted us. Like the TV show, you remember the one, It'll Be Alright on the Night? We need to remember, it'll be alright on Sunday. Today I'm going to walk us through parts of the Bible, not as a reminder of theology, but a reminder of hope when all seems lost. So follow me, if you will, up a mountain with Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham faces all his Fridays together, told to sacrifice his beloved son. But of course God provides a ram. And for Abraham, at that moment, all his Sundays come together. The joy of new hope amongst despair. When Jonah sat in a stinking fish with seaweed and rotted fish all around him, he was in his own Friday of despair. He did not understand that a new start was possible when God provided. But then Jonah's version of Sunday comes together when he's thrown up again onto a beach. Job lived in despair at the loss that would envelope his life for so many days, and his friends were effectively his worst enemies. Job suffered many Fridays, but God would restore him beyond his imagination when all those Sundays would come together. Search the scriptures. Daniel, Joseph, and his dad and his brothers, Elijah, the Old Testament is full of people who faced that Friday of pain, the nightmares of Friday, when God was then going to provide for all of them their own Sunday of hope. And look at the New Testament. In our readings we've had, the most intellectual people of their time, those at that council meeting who were going to condemn Jesus, with all their studies, with all their texts, with all their so-called knowledge, those who had read their texts 100,000 times, even they didn't get it. They demanded Jesus' death, meaning they had no idea at all that Sunday was possible. The crowds who had seen Jesus' miracles, they didn't get it. Those weeping at the cross did not get it. All they saw was a bad Friday. And here I find the most incredible of all. Even after the disciples were told that on the third day Jesus would rebuild what had been torn down. In other words, he would rise again. Those he taught it to didn't get it. Thomas will only believe when he can touch Jesus' wounds. And even the most incredible for me of all, in Matthew 28, 16 to 17, it says, Then the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him. But some of them still doubted. Still doubted. They doubted Sunday. On the road to Emmaus, we read that those believers still did not get it until Jesus explains to them from the very beginning, from the beginning of time, Sunday was always going to be God's plan. So today I want you to give you some words I actually delivered many years ago, slightly differently, because we need them. We need not just to know these words, but we need to believe them. We need to live them. And I believe most of all, we need to share them. And it is 8 simple words. Yes, it's Friday, but Sunday's coming. It's Friday, but Sunday is coming. We need to know it. We need to have hope. We need to know it. We need to share it. We need to know it. We need to share the hope. We need to know it so that we can go and tell others, yes, it will be all right because Sunday is coming. I could stand here and try to be clever. I would fail miserably with theology and long words. But I want to just share some true stories. One from, I confess, someone who's been a bit of a Christian hero for me for years. And one from another person's journal. And I say I want to share it. I want to make the plea. In all those that I've mentioned who did not get it, there is one that I've missed out. But no more, because we can't on Good Friday. No more, because it is the one who tries to remind us each and every day, who tries to make each day a Friday, the one who keeps reminding us of our failures, the one who keeps reminding us of our weaknesses, our denials and more. It is the one, as the boxers would say, who went toe to toe with Jesus in the wilderness and had his own words turned back upon him. The one whose temptations 2 people give into in the Garden of Eden meant that Good Friday and the Resurrection Sunday was required. Call him what you will. Call him the enemy. So let me give you this. That first Easter, the enemy did his worst. He brought lies, he brought betrayal, he brought arrest, he brought torture, he brought agony, and ultimately he brought death. It was, after all, the worst that he could do. That Friday, the gates of hell itself would have been believing that God's plan had been defeated forever. In the death of the Saviour, the saved had become lost forever. The same enemy who had seen Jesus heal, the same enemy who has seen Jesus show love and grace and raise the dead, the same enemy did not get it. That Friday, he did not understand. Yes, on Friday, Satan, remember, Sunday is coming. I see it, as that ultimate Rocky movie, a spiritual one. Jesus is betrayed, and the referee's count begins. 1, 2. Jesus is condemned to die, not even saved by the crowds that he came to save. 3 and 4. He's whipped and beaten. 5 and 6. The first nail goes into his wrist. 7. Another nail. 8. Jesus cries out to his Father, "Why have you forsaken me?" He cries his last. 9. Even as the Roman centurion realizes that Jesus was different, Satan never saw it coming. The skies turn black, the curtain is torn, but still he didn't get it. Jesus had died. Satan, thought he was victorious, free to do his will, prowling the earth. Jesus was in a tomb and dead after all, tortured, a spear plunged into his side, laid in a tomb behind guards and rock. But perhaps you noticed something that Satan never did, because he never got it. Somewhere after 9, the clock would stop and go into reverse from 8 to 7 to 6 and to 5, and then the women arrive at the tomb, and as they arrive there, the clock has gone back to 0. The one thought to have been defeated was alive. Friday had gone and Sunday had come. It was Friday, but Sunday was coming and had come. It's the same for us today. Let's remember it. The Lamb who was the enemy thought he had slain, the Lamb who was slain, is also the Lion of Judah. The one who one day, despite that agony, despite his betrayal, despite his own disciples' doubts, despite all that he had seen when his best friends fled, despite his own father turning his head away, despite all of that, he is the one who looks the enemy straight in the eye. Doubt. Is that the best you've got? Betrayal, is that all that you have? Fear, is that all that you've got? And as the enemy showed him intolerable pain, Jesus could look him straight in the eye and says, "Death, is that the worst that you can do? Death I can swallow up," Jesus says. Is that the worst that you've got? You had your Friday, but me, my disciples, my followers, all who will follow me in the future, they have Sunday. It was Friday, but Sunday was coming. And Sunday challenges us. Do we really live and share that confidence? It is Friday, but Sunday is coming. So when the enemy reminds us of your past failures, when the enemy reminds you of your past faults, when your enemy reminds you of your past denials, when he reminds you of everything you've done in the past, I beg of you, remind him of his future. When he tells you you will fail again, remind him, yes, because there was Friday, but Sunday is coming for all time. Did you know that in the Second World War, it was said that D-Day was the day that the war was actually won? The tide was turned and victory was assured. But I didn't know this. Between D-Day and VE Day, the ultimate victory, more people died between D-Day and VE Day than died before D-Day. On D-Day, the war was effectively won, but it continued until VE Day. And for us, we need to know the same. On Friday, the enemy thought it had won. But Jesus was our D-Day. Sunday is our VE Day. And although the battle continues, we need to always remember the war has already been won. And it's a message just as much for us in church, the body of Christ. We are the body of Good Friday. We are the body of Easter Sunday Christ. It is important for us as individuals, as those who do not know Jesus. As a church, we will face some challenges. Of that, there is no doubt. We won't always agree. So what? Don't let it worry us. Sunday's coming. Financial challenges will come to the church. Boy, do we know that. Sunday's coming. Does it seem a bit tenuous? Let me remind us and remind me. When Sharon and I first came to this church, it was just 3 years ago. That Sunday, there were about 20 of us in that church, here. There was no worship team. There was no kids' activities at all, because let's face it, we had no kids. Today, we regularly see 60 odd people coming to church here on a Sunday. That's a church that's tripled in size in 3 years. We've got a thriving worship team. We've got a growing kids zone. We've got baptism upon baptism, life groups and more. Why? Because for us, Sunday came. And that was just Friday. Sunday came. And God wants to keep giving us Sunday. And he sends it not just for us. So why do we have men's and soon women's breakfast? It's not for what we can get out of it. That's not for what we can get out of it. We men, we're great at hiding our struggles, putting on faces and all the rest of it. But we need to acknowledge that we do all have Fridays. But we need to remember that Sunday is coming. Men and women's breakfast, that is a time not for what we can take, but what we can give, to remind people who are struggling that Sunday is coming. Coffee mornings, and the person sat quietly alone. Go to a coffee morning occasionally and remind that person Sunday is coming. Kids Zone. In Kids Zone, we often start by asking our young people, how's the week been for you? Because for some of them it's been tough. Bullying and more. It's a chance to talk and remind them before anything else, Sunday is coming for you. Inside and outside the church, we need to keep reminding our fellow believers, not just to believe in Friday, but to remember that Sunday is coming. For the times we live our lives like Friday, we never radiate Sunday. That does not just deny our fights and our struggles, but it does need to acknowledge that Jesus gave us Sunday. I've said earlier that I have a favourite author. His name is Tony Campolo. He tells so many true stories. that just inspire me. I want to share one of them that inspired me totally today. One of them is this. See, Tony is working in a downtown area in a South American country. And he couldn't sleep one of those hot, steamy nights, so he goes for a walk. And he ended up in one of those cafes. It's one of those cafes, you know, where you wipe your feet as you leave, not as you enter. The place where the overweight waiter who is there, he gives you a bit of free cigarette ash with every cup of coffee. It's a freebie. And when you detect the utensils, they never fall off the table, never fall off, because the table's so sticky that everything just clamps to them. You get the sort of place that we're talking about. And that night, around 3 a.m, a sex worker came into that cafe with other similar ladies. She mentions it's her birthday the following day, the following night. Everyone just laughs at her. These were ladies who mostly never knew when their birthdays were, and those who knew when they were had nothing to celebrate. She was mocked and broken even more. Her Fridays were laid starkly before her. But Tony stayed behind and spoke to the waiter and the owner. He tells him that these ladies always come into his cafe after work, every single night, without fail, about 3 in the morning. So Tony hatched a plan. In the early hours of the following day, that lady sex worker and all her friends of the night walked into that cafe. In they walked to some music, and banners, and balloons, and the biggest darn birthday cake you have ever seen in your life. The biggest cake those ovens had ever made. That lady broke down and cried. She runs home taking the cake with her to show she knows not who, because who's going to be there. She returns, she cuts the cake, which is shared around. A party for one night begins because one person saw someone who needed life beyond Friday. They needed Sunday. After they leave, the owner says to Tony, "What do you do for a living then?" And he says, "So I work for the church." "What sort of church is that?" he asked. "Oh, it's a church that throws a birthday party for sex workers at 3 in the morning." "Nah," the owner says. "If there was a church like that, I'd go." The following Sunday, that lady and all her friends turn up at church, still in their clothing they were wearing in the middle of the night. And they showed up again and again. And guess what? Within a few months, a new church was started. A new church was planted. A church that knew it's possible to throw a party for those who have reached rock bottom. A church that believed that Sunday was for all, and became the Easter miracle for a bunch of ladies who started a church. It became because after Friday, which they all knew too well, Sunday came. I want to start bringing this together by reading you someone else's journal. Let me be totally clear. I have permission today to read it because it's personal. But I do have permission to read it. This is what they write. "Hi you. I wrote about you recently. Don't feel pride at that. It's just exposure. That's right. Feel exposed as you made me feel. Exposed as the whole world were looking at my secrets. Oh, please note that I said secrets, not dirty little secrets, because they're your words. not increasingly my memories, not even my beliefs anymore. So let me write as I do. Don't hang your head, because I feel no vengeance towards you. I just acknowledge that because I'm not the first, I won't be the last. You've been there before. So you listen as I write, because getting this out there takes away your ammunition. Listen as every memory is revealed. Every memory revealed takes a bullet from your gun. Every shame ditched takes an arrow from your bow. Every tear turned to laughter snaps your spear in two. You've been like the boxing referee who has taken my memories, corrupted them, each and every one corrupted by your thoughts. Every inadequacy felt has been a number counting me out on the canvas floor. 2 years ago, I reached that canvas. But yet, start worrying. Start worrying because, as I said, it was there on the canvas floor that you poured doubt, guilt, shame, and worse upon me, like petrol to a fire. It was there that I found the strength. No, the bloody mindedness to think about fighting back. On the canvas, my teenager was revealed or born again. The teenager who accepted nothing and believed being more. Let me be clear. The things I did and the places that I went, I don't dismiss them. I'm not proud of them because that would just make you happy. Yes, I felt ashamed. I did some of these. I felt guilty at many of them. But I live with them now as felt. Felt, not feel. They are the past, and increasingly so. On the canvas, you went too far. You forgot and never quit. But it seems that I never did. I did because, and I didn't know that then, somewhere inside was someone who wanted to be better. They just didn't know it. So you, listen to this. I'm going to list what I did. List what we discussed. List what I remember. I'm going to expose my secrets. But in doing so, you could feel defeated because I'm coming back. Oh, no. I don't think you've won that battle yet. But I do know that I will win it. In the end, the war will be won. So now sit down, shut up, and listen as I reveal all. As you can see, it's been redacted. You won many battles, but now I see your plans, viewed them and understood them. You won the battles, but I know that I win this war. You've had your Pearl Harbor, you've had your Blitz, you've had your victories, but this is my D-Day, which will always lead to victory. You see the referee who thought they counted me out, who counted me on that dreaded 10 to the canvas floor? Listen carefully, he never did get to 10. You see, that count was reversed. It's not reached naught, but this fighter is climbing back off the canvas floor. The person who wrote that had been a Christian for about 20 years. Being a Christian didn't prevent them from going to a dark place. But when they reached the darkest depths, they remembered that that pit was Friday and Sunday was coming. That person who wrote that was me. That's my diary. Those are my words that I wrote when I was going to counselling for post-traumatic stress just a few years ago. They are read as a reminder to me and a reminder to us all. We can get through this because Sunday is coming. No way to remember to mend a broken relationship. Don't let Friday deceive you. Sunday is coming. struggling with dependency or addiction and can't find the answer, that's because that's in Friday, and Sunday is coming. Disputes within family that can't be healed, dispel it as myth and fake. That is Friday, and remember that Sunday's coming. You can't forgive and forget, leave it in Friday. Sunday is coming. Reach the lowest point in the pit as I did there. Look up. Sunday's coming. Please, I ask, I plead, I beg. Whatever it is, whatever seems too hard, too impossible, remember it doesn't have to stay Friday. Sunday is coming. If you forget every single thing I've said today, just please remember this. Sunday is coming. Sunday is coming. It's only Friday. Sunday is coming. And as all God's people hope you said, it's only Friday. But what? Sunday is coming.